What's good, YouTube? Welcome back. Thank you for clicking onto this reaction. I hope you're looking forward to it just as much as I am. If you haven't already, head over to the content creators page. That link is in the description box down below. If you haven't already and you're enjoying our content, you know what you need to do. You need to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, but we're going to jump straight into this one. The invasion of Cuba, the Cuban Missile Crisis, day 11. Let's go.
11. Robert Kennedy will one day write that on the 11th day of the Cuban Missile Crisis, he felt that this cup was not going to pass, and that a direct military confrontation between the two great military powers was inevitable. Both hawks and doves sensed that our combination of limited force and diplomatic efforts had been unsuccessful. If the Russians continued to be adamant and continued to build up their missile strength, military force would be the only alternative.
Risky business. Imagine having all of that weight on your shoulders, Jack.
This is TimeGhost and the Cuban
Meet me other pussy in bed before I deal with all that shit.
Yesterday, American ambassador to the UN Adlai
Stevenson
faced off with his Soviet counterpart Valerian Zorin.
Make it a good one.
Made Zorin look foolish while proving to to the world the Soviets had in fact
Placed
placed nuclear arms on Cuba. Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev decided to offer...
I know we're going off topic here, but...
No, I do not think
that
prisoners... You're talking about a prisoner's last meal, yeah?
No. Fully. I'll just be like, look, I'm going to eat some pussy. I genuinely want to know, has a prisoner ever asked, can I eat some pussy?
I think it all depends. If they have a missus and that missus is willing to do it, then
100%. If they've got a willing participant to say, yeah, no, eat my pussy. Yeah, fuck it, bro. I got hungry. You give me my breakfast in the morning anyway.
I was a warden, and
if I had that power and someone
said,
I
was a warden,
my
and
wife,
he goes, what's your last meal?
Yep.
My wife's pussy. I'd crack up. I'd be like, I'll get a number. We'll arrange it.
Right, we'll arrange a meeting. Yeah. We'll get her medically checked to make sure she's not got any capsules or anything hidden inside. Just in case. But other than that,
they used to be allowed.
You can crack on.
There's a word for it. Like prisoners are allowed, like if they're married, to see their woman once every so often.
I know there's other countries where like the prisoners basically run the prison.
No. In general, like I think if you're married, you are allowed to see a woman. Like in certain states in America.
Certain states, I can imagine that. Yeah,
you're allowed to see a woman, and
I guess depending on your charge as well.
I think it does all depend on your charge as well. Yeah. So yeah, if they can do that, then yeah, damn straight.
Yeah.
The U.S. a trade, guaranteed sovereignty over Cuba for removing his missiles. The so-called quarantine, an American naval blockade of Cuba, was in effect. But there were no suspicious ships to stop, as they had all turned back to Russia. This robbed the U.S. of the chance to show the world how the blockade would be enforced. Finally, the Navy decided to board a seemingly random non-Russian ship to perform a demonstration. On the morning of October 26, 1962, this ship, the Lebanese freighter Markula, manned by a Greek crew, which took on cargo in Riga on its way to Havana, is moored to a U.S. Navy destroyer in the waters east of Cuba. American President John F. Kennedy is following the board and search operations via radio link from the White House. As expected, the ship has no contraband on board and is allowed to proceed.
At the
same time, Kennedy has just received the morning newspapers, and they are full of rumors of an imminent American invasion of Cuba. Considering that the U.S. Army, Navy, and Air Force have now amassed the greatest amount of men and equipment seen since the Korean War, both on and off the U.S. East Coast, this is a fairly reasonable assumption.
Yeah,
the letter from Khrushchev, a long one, offering the trade-off, has not yet arrived. Khrushchev actually has other problems on this crisp Moscow morning. His ally in Cuba, Fidel Castro, is getting very nervous. Yesterday evening, he held a passionate public speech in Havana, promising to shoot down any Yankee spy planes that fly over the island. That's already not great for Khrushchev, but it gets worse when he receives Castro's Armageddon letter. It says, if the imperialists invade Cuba with the aim of occupying it, the dangers of their aggressive policy are so great that after such an invasion, the Soviet Union must never allow circumstances in which the imperialists could carry out a nuclear first strike against it. I tell you this because I believe that the imperialists' aggressiveness makes them extremely dangerous. However harsh and terrible the solution, there would be no other. In other words, in the case of an invasion of Cuba, Castro wants the USSR to strike the US with nuclear force before the US themselves resort to nuclear weapons. Khrushchev could just simply not grant Castro's wish if it was not for those tactical frog missiles on Cuba, which, if he wants to, Castro can seize and use himself. Not only could he fire at invading troops from a boat, he could get someone close enough to Florida to fire a couple at the American mainland. Needless to say,
he just takes
that would force both Khrushchev's
and
Kennedy's hands and launch a nuclear war. While Khrushchev deals with Castro, an American invasion of Cuba is not fake news. President Kennedy is once again considering it. Remember, he still hasn't received Khrushchev's proposal. The topic of the day is what to do next, since the blockade itself will not eliminate the nukes. Now, at the beginning of this XCOM meeting, there are two remarkable things that are covered. This happens before the president starts recording, and in portions of the recording that have been excised and are still classified. But it's easy to piece together what's going on by looking at the references to these parts during the rest of the discussion and through other declassified documents. First of all, it's now known and confirmed that the US knows about the tactical frog missiles. They were photographed and identified on the 25th in one of the low-altitude flybys. This does not stop discussion of an invasion. Instead, US forces with tactical nukes of their own are being made ready to take part in such an invasion. Second, Director McCone of the CIA now distances himself from a CIA operation to send small groups of Cuban exiles as sabotage crews to Cuba to take out the missiles and assassinate Castro. Remember back on day one?
They were funding exile Cubans to go
Fuck up there,
no, take out the nukes. Guerrilla and take out the nukes.
Who was going to fucking assassinate him?
Assassinate who?
I've misheard something there.
Yeah, you have misheard something. Let me rewind it for you, Jack. You smoked too much with the green.
The missiles and assassinate Castro.
Oh, a shit,
Remember
both.
back on day one?
Yeah,
I'm
both.
not hearing shit.
No, I smoked
Robert
too much
Kennedy
green.
had been made the unofficial chairman of Operation
I smoked
Mongoose,
too much.
the secret
I pay more
sabotage
attention.
operation to disrupt Cuba and possibly eliminate Castro. Well, it turns out that ever since that first day of the crisis, McCone and Bobby Kennedy have been adapting these plans as an alternative to invasion to end the crisis. Now McCone does not want to proceed for fear of failing and getting the blame for another CIA-led debacle like the Bay of Pigs invasion. So on the advice of National Security Advisor McGeorge Bundy, it becomes part of the post-invasion plan instead.
Mr. President, my suggestion is that we should reconstitute Mongoose as a subcommittee of this committee in the appropriate way, and I think we can work that out this
I think
afternoon.
that's good, because this matter you called me about last night, which is what's under the government. And that was all part of the Mongoose.
Yes, I called Mr. McCone last night, and I called Mr. Martin, that I thought we ought to be making a crash program on. The problem becomes in one of invasion, what kind of people, how many Cubans we'll have, what will be the civil government arrangements.
These are very important matters.
Yeah, what's going to happen after?
McCone informs them that the meeting to set that up is already underway. So this is how serious they are about an invasion. They're already planning how to take political and administrative control of Cuba afterwards. Another piece of important intelligence they receive is that the work to make the Soviet missiles launch ready is continuing. Many years later, it
So
will
the
come to
Cubans
light
aren't stopping
that
either.
already at this point, a mobile unit of 2 SS-4 missiles is deployable and set up only a few kilometers away from Guantanamo, the U.S. military base on Cuba.
Oh shit.
The XCOM members have
Attack on
concluded
that
that
is
even if the
declaration of
blockade
war.
is stopping new arms from coming in,
This isn't good.
it's not doing anything to get rid of the ones already there. More and more missiles being readied. There's now a sense of urgency. In the next meeting, they look at their options to solve that problem. After the UN session and meetings with UN General Secretary U Thant yesterday in New York, Adlai Stevenson and Presidential Advisor John J. McCloy have traveled to Washington and are also part of that XCOM meeting. Both of them are in favor of negotiating with the Soviets through U Thant, possibly even lifting the blockade before those negotiations starts. McCone is not impressed.
Wanted to conclude by making it very clear that the intention here was a standstill, not positive acts. And the standstill was to include the discontinuance of construction, discontinuance of shipping, discontinuance of the quarantine for 48, we'd have to agree how to do that in 48 hours. After that, we'd negotiate a final settlement which would relate to the withdrawal of the weapons or the inoperability of weapons already inoperable. I would think inoperable becomes meaningless because during the long-term negotiations we're concerned with the withdrawal of the weapons from the hemisphere. I don't agree with that, Mr. President.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly about it, but I think that the real crux of this matter is the fact that he's got these pointed, for all you know, right now at our hearts, and this is going to produce, I think it may produce a situation when we get to Berlin after the election that changes the entire balance of the world power, puts us under a very great handicap to carry out our obligations to not only to our Western European allies, but to the hemisphere. And I think that we've got the momentum now. We've got the feeling that these things are serious and that that threat must be removed before we can drop the quarantine. If we drop that quarantine once, we're never going to be able to put it in effect again. And I feel that we must say that the quarantine goes on until we are satisfied that these are inoperable.
Well, now the quarantine itself won't remove.
Just quickly, they've already started the process. You have to see it through now. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, both. Yeah, they've got to see it now. They've got to see it through. You've done it. You can't do it again. No. You've got to see it through.
Yeah, that's it.
Won't remove the weapons. So you're going to get two ways of removing the weapons. One is to negotiate them out, and trade them out, or the other is to go in and take them out. I don't see any other way you're going to get the weapons out.
While these deliberations go on, others are suffering the consequences of the decisions made by the leaders on both sides of the Iron Curtain. The U.S. Navy is now hard on the heels of the 4 Soviet submarines. They chase them from one location to the next, hitting them with signaling depth charges to try to get them to surface. The chase is so intense that the subs cannot even surface for fresh air or to reload their batteries. The conditions on board are becoming absolutely horrifying. One of the seamen writes in his diary dedicated to his wife.
We're in the enemy's lair, and we can't reveal our presence to them. But they sense our nearness and are searching for us. They detected us yesterday, but we managed to escape. Something exploded somewhere, but at a distance from us, so we don't know how serious it was. But here, inside the sub, the situation is very serious. The men are feeling notably worse. A lot of them are ill. People are fainting. Many have swollen feet. No one can sleep in this monstrous heat and stuffy air. Even though everyone is very tired and weak. Everyone's skin is covered with rash. Some look like Indians. They put some antiseptic ointment, bright green in color, on their rash, and it got smeared all over their bodies because of the sweat.
Today,
Shit, man. Shit. Fuck being in a submarine. Fuck being in a submarine.
Nope.
No, thank you.
I'm above water. I'm on the water.
Yeah.
No.
I ain't underneath the water for long.
No. I don't mind going swim or whatever. I'll swim whatever. Fuck a submarine, bro.
Fuck a submarine.
Because if shit goes bad.
Holy shit.
No.
Fuck me.
Not
the
fair.
submarines run out of electricity and have to surface. They are allowed to recharge and are escorted back towards the USSR. The other two, the B-36 and the B-59, are still submerged, still evading the U.S. Navy.
Still two.
Now, they have lost all contact with the outer world, most significantly with Central Command in Moscow. In such a scenario, they have orders to determine themselves whether or not to deploy their tactical nukes. In Washington, D.C., XCOM meets again.
There's no action that, other than diplomatic, that we can take, which does not immediately get rid of these. There's only two ways to do them, as I said this morning. One is the diplomatic way, which I don't think is going to be successful. The other way is, I would think, a combination of an airstrike and probably invasion, which we have to carry out both of those with the prospect that they might be fired.
Now, let's be very clear
carry
about
out
one
those,
thing
but
here. These are
Did
plans
you hear that,
and not
Jack?
action.
He said we'll carry out the airstrikes and the invasion, but we got to understand that the missiles most likely will be fired if we do that. So yeah, we can go ahead with that, but
they're gonna fire.
They're gonna nuke. Yeah.
Fucking Americans.
Now, let's be very clear about one thing here. These are plans and not actions. We should not misread this as saying that either of the two leaders want a war. As we have seen before, both are terrified of the idea. It's just that one action after the other on both sides has now led them down that path one little step at a time. It's safe to assume that the president heaves a small sigh of relief when he finally receives Khrushchev's offer this evening.
Okay.
That is, once he spent time reading and deciphering it, because it's long, it's rambling, and at times it's not very clear. What is crystal clear is that by now, both of them have long lost their grip on the leash that was supposed to hold back the dogs of war. Tomorrow, they will bark and bite as one insane event after the other escalates the crisis to the very brink of nuclear war. See you then on day 12.
Why can't they just like message each other and go, "Yo, Kenny, we need to talk"?
They said that there's barely any phone lines available at this point in time.
Carrier pigeon.
And also at this moment, they're refusing to talk to each other.
It's silly. It's silly. Just be like, look, we don't want to invade you. You don't want to invade us.
What are we going to do? How are we going to sort this out?
We need to talk. Have a Zoom.
Always have a Zoom.
Always have a Zoom in a diplomatic
definitely
conversation. Have a Zoom.
And before you do that, head over to their page. That link's going to be in the description box down below. And we will catch you in the next video.
Bye.